Hey guys, Amanda here, Masters in Marriage and Family Therapy. Today, right now, we are about to cover part 2 of our 4 marriage types. So if you've missed part 1, press pause on this one and go check out part 1 where I cover the Instagram marriage and the lonely marriage. And right now, we're about to cover the lukewarm marriage and then, hear me well, the perfect marriage. Oh, Amanda, that's nonsense. There's no such thing. Yes, there is. There is the perfect marriage, and you are about to find out what are these characteristics and what makes it so perfect. So, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you characteristics so that you can feel like you're not alone. There are a lot of marriages that are currently living your reality. And then after I give you these characteristics so that you can identify yourself, then I'm going to show you how to resolve it. I'm going to give you tips that you can implement today that will make a change, a difference in your marriage. I always tell you guys this: grab papers, grab your pens, grab something to drink, cuddle up next to your honey, because you're going to want to watch this together. All right, Amanda, what is the third marriage type? The third one is the lukewarm marriage, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not too cold, it's not too hot. On one hand, there's not these blowouts, there's not these huge fights or conflicts, there's not a lot of arguments, no abuse is going on, and all areas of abuse, emotional, physical abuse, these things aren't happening. But on the other hand, there's not a whole lot of affection either. There's no flirting, no holding of the hands, no making out. You know, after a long day of work, when wife comes home or husband comes home, when they meet each other, it's kind of just like, hey, how's it going? How was your day? There's none of this, hey, I missed you, I'm so excited to see you. I wrote a post recently on the social media, and I hope you guys are following us there, Instagram and Facebook, and there it says that love greets with excitement. And when you're in the lukewarm marriage, no one is really all that excited to see each other. So these are some ways that you can start to figure out, to decipher if this is your reality. Now, the problem in the lukewarm marriage is that all is good. There's no worries. There's sort of an indifference that's going on. Listen to what Jesus says regarding this term lukewarm, and this is why I chose to use this word to describe this marriage. It's found in Revelation 3:15. It says this: I know your works, that you are neither cold nor hot. In other words, you're lukewarm. I could wish you were cold or hot. So then, because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth. No one likes things that are lukewarm. Either be cold or be hot, but this in between, it will not work in your marriage. Now, as you are experiencing this lukewarm marriage, you think, oh man, but what's the big deal? You know, we're kind of just in the middle here. There's not too many problems. Well, the problem is that you are distancing yourself little by little. And the bigger problem is that you're not even really noticing. And you start saying things like, oh, this is normal. Oh, this is natural. We've been married for 25 years. We've been married for 30 years. Amanda, this just happens. You know, we're not as young as we used to be. Before, we'd come home and we'd be like bunnies, right? We'd have sex 2-3 times a day, several times a week. But now, I mean, it's not like it once was. That does not have to be the case. I don't care how many years you've been married. And so the lukewarm marriage, it's very close to what I would like to call the invisible divorce. There's already a divorce that has taken place, but you just didn't even really realize it. You're like roommates. All right, Amanda, I understand now what is a problem. So what are the characteristics? Give me more. Okay, there are a few ways that I would like to describe. 2 big ones come up when I think of the lukewarm marriage. The first one is that they're living separate lives. Living separate lives. What do I mean by that? They're hours on the phone. They're just disengaged. They're not being with each other with intent and with purpose. There's not really conversations taking place. This is the couple that when they both go to bed, they're each on their own phones. They're on social media or they're texting someone else. Usually the husband comes home as soon as he steps foot in the house, or the wife, and they're still talking to their buddies from work or trying to make plans with everyone but their spouse. This is also the marriage that, even though they are together in mind and heart and spirit, they're separate in the sense of, I can be with Renee, let's say we could be cooking together, but my mind can just be somewhere else. So when they're together in body, but they're not together in mind. And we have to be good at catching ourselves, or else this will become a bad habit in our relationship. Now, the thing about habits, amazing book that I'm reading called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he says that people who have good habits are not people who have this amazing self-control or this amazing discipline, right? This grit in life, but really that they are architects of their environment. I love that. So imagine with me that Renee and I get to bed. His phone is sitting, on the table there next to his side of the bed, and my phone is next to my table. If the phone goes off, so imagine we come to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock or whatever, and we're hanging out, we're talking. We say that our bed is used for sleeping and for sex, right? Nothing else takes place on this bed, and so we try to police ourselves. But imagine that our phones were next to us. If a text message goes off, if someone starts to call, I'm going to try to pick it up, or something alerts me on my phone, I'm going to want to check, oh, that's a Facebook message, oh, that's an Instagram message. So what do we do instead? Once we get into our bed and once we are together, we leave our phones in the bathroom. Because I can assure you that my laziness is more than my curiosity to stand up, walk out of bed, and go see who's texting or calling or trying to have a conversation with me. So try to police yourself, surround yourself, create your environment in such a way where instead of living separate lives, you are helping yourself out, helping one another out, leaving your phone in the bathroom. Another thing is, we like to do our 15-minute walks. You guys heard me say that I love to do these little 15-minute walks with Renee. It's important that when we do these 15-minute walks, even if I'm with the boys sometime or we're having family time, put the phone away. If it's in your phone and it's buzzing, you're going to want to check it. And this is the beginning of living separate lives, being there in body, but not being there in heart and in mind. Okay, what is the second characteristic of Amanda of the lukewarm marriage? Imagine that you go to a party or you're going to a wedding and you guys are there together, you're laughing, you're smiling, you're engaging with other people, but there's not a whole lot of engagement with one another. Now, it becomes tricky because the lukewarm marriage, no one is being mean to each other, no one is being nasty, no one's treating anyone with contempt. You guys communicate and the communication is nice. So let's say you went to a wedding and the conversation can go something like, hey, you're trying to leave, I'm ready to go. And then the other person says, yeah, just let's spend 5 more minutes and then we can go. So the conversation is civil. And this is why everything seems fine, not only maybe to yourself, but also to those around you. But there's this nagging feeling of, I wish there was more here. The lukewarm marriage, although it's not too hot, not too cold, again, it's not either or, you're right in the middle. So imagine that your husband comes home or your wife comes home with the grocery and the other one goes out there, hey, let me help you with the groceries. There's a kindness to one another. But there are subtle things that some would call normal, but they're not normal. So imagine that little things start to creep in. You start to go a day, a week, a month without sleeping in the same bed. But it's not because you're angry. It's not because you're upset. It's not because you had a fight. But you start giving little excuses. Oh, you just snored too loud, so I don't want to sleep with you. I'm just going to sleep in the guest bedroom. Or maybe you have kids and you say, oh, I was reading the book and then I just fell asleep in the kids' room. Where all the kids sleep with you all the time, so there's no opportunity, no moments of intimacy. So these are the things, and that's why it's an invisible divorce, because sometimes it goes without you realizing. Because again, there's not these huge fights. It's just, Amanda, this is part of everyday life. This is just normal. We're tired. This is not normal. It does not have to be this way. You can have a better marriage. It does not have to be lukewarm. All right? Amanda, so what do I do? How can I resolve this? What are your tips? What do you recommend? The first thing you need to do is you need to reflect as you just are doing here now. I need you to think. I need you to press pause if you have to and think, am I on my phone all the time? Am I not sleeping with my spouse? Are we being civil with each other, but have we lost that fire, that passion with one another? If the answer is yes, you just realize that. That's the first step. You reflected and you realize. You're maybe saying, oh shoot, that's me. I had no idea. And then hear this. It can be better. You can still do something right now. So now that you've realized it, now that you said, oh, that's me, take the next step. Find something in common. And at times you give a couple this sort of homework to do. You guys go home this week. By the time you get here next week, I need you to tell me something that you have in common. Usually couples come back, Amanda, we have nothing in common. We don't like each other. We tried and we couldn't even have a conversation about it. Listen, don't be lazy. Everyone has at least one thing in common. And the best way you can do this is go back in time. Start reminiscing. How was your first kiss? When did you guys meet? Where did you guys meet? Where was the first restaurant you went to? Where did you go on your first date? Grab your wedding albums and look through your wedding albums together, or pictures or videos. Remind yourself that yes, you do have a lot of things in common. Even though there's been a sort of invisible distance in your marriage, you have things in common. So find out what those things are. What is your hobby? What is something that you can do together? And we're going to get into number 3, which is find something to do together. But before, I want to share with you, one of the clients, one of the couples that I'm working with, they're having a hard time sort of finding something in common. I gave them this homework, and their reality, unfortunately, sort of goes like this. The husband wakes up super early on Sunday. He loves to wake up early. And so he likes to wake up early, but he also likes to sleep early. She likes to sleep in, but she also likes to sleep late. So they're literally always passing each other by. So, let's say it's a Saturday night. Husband sleeps early because he wants to wake up early on Sunday because he wants to go biking. And so, right, he does just that. While he's sleeping, she's watching a show or she's watching a movie. She's doing something, but she ain't sleeping. And so next morning, he wakes up super early, 5:30 in the morning, and he's going to go bike with his friends. She's still sleeping. So he's done. Let's say he comes home around 10:30. He comes back to the house. She's just now waking up. She maybe just had breakfast. He's tired. So after biking all day, he's maybe going to eat lunch, and he's gonna rest. She's already been resting though. So she's getting dressed because she's about to go out with her friends. She's going to go to the bar. She's going to go to the movie. She's going to do something with her girlfriends. Do you see what's happening here? They're literally passing each other by. They're not angry. No one's upset. It's just like, hey, how's your bike? It was great. Hey, I'm about to leave. They spend the whole day and they don't see each other. The week comes around. He's working. She's working. They come home. It's late. They're not being intimate. And I'm not just talking about sex here, but that's part of it also. They're not having conversations. They don't have anything in common. They don't have a hobby. An invisible divorce is taking place right before their eyes. So find something in common. Find a hobby, and start doing those things. Part 3, find a hobby to do together. Find a hobby to do together. And the good thing about this marriage type, the lukewarm marriage, is since y'all don't really hate each other, right? It's just there's not really a whole lot of passion. You guys are willing to try to figure things out. You guys are willing to say, hey, what can we do different? And this is where there's going to be a learning curve that's going to take place. Once you start spending time with each other, again, it might be kind of awkward in the beginning. You might say, you know what we're going to do together is we're going to have dinners together. We used to do that when we first got married. Now with kids, it's been so difficult. So we're going to take time once a week to have dinners together. And you might go to these dinners and literally there might be crickets, right? You guys are just like eating and trying to shove food quickly in your mouth because literally you have nothing to say. So in the beginning, it might be a little awkward, but keep trying, keep doing it. Why? Because the more time you spend together, the more conversations you will have. It's like that friend you had in middle school or high school, and now with social media, everyone can kind of stay connected, but imagine that there was no social media, and you just go years and years and years without talking to someone that you used to be really close to. When you guys meet again, it's going to be sort of a superficial conversation. But it's not to say that with some time of talking, spending time together, let's say they just moved back to your hometown, once again, the relationship can reignite as you start to spend time together. So that's tip number 3. Find time, separate time to spend it together. Number 4, find something that you admire. Find something that you like, something that you think is attractive, something that you think it's cute. Maybe it's like, oh man, I loved his legs, right? Maybe it's because you loved his legs. Find something that you like. Renee's not going to be very happy that I'm going to share this with you guys, but I'm going to share it with you. He's over there. He's laying down as I'm doing this video, right? I just have this thing. I don't know what your thing is, women. Some women like it when their husbands dress up in a suit or this and that. I appreciate Renee in a suit, okay? And I'm sure he appreciates me with no clothes on, right? But there are different things that we like. But one of my things, I don't know for whatever reason, is I love it when Renee wears a backwards hat. And Renee isn't really a hat guy. He's been wearing it more often because he knows I got the hots for a backwards hat. And so Sunday came around and he put his backwards hat on and he says, are you into me, right? Do I look hot? And then I said, I love it. You look great. And he says, well, maybe I'll get lucky tonight, right? These are the kinds of things. Admire, tell each other, hey, I love it when you wear this. I love it when you wear that. Or honestly, I love it when you wear nothing of that. Find something to admire or find something that you like. Find something that you find attractive. However silly it is, find something. Press pause on your relationship right now and reflect. Say, man, what made me fall in love with this guy? What made me fall in love with this girl? And finally, the last thing, number 5, tip number 5, find something to do for the other person. What is this going to do? It's going to put intentionality in your relationship. Because right now, the lukewarm relationship, there's not too much either side, right? Not too cold, not too hot. You're just kind of going with the flow. Get out of autopilot. Be intentional. Do specific acts of kindness. Do something specific. Remember our 5 languages of love? Figure out what is your spouse's and then find a way to be intentional about loving him or loving her. Get yourself out of the normalness of life, reroute, realize, and then get to work. Okay? That's what I got for you on the lukewarm marriage. Apply these things and let me know if they work. And the last one, the final one, is the perfect marriage. Oh, come on, Amanda. Give me a break. Give me a break. It almost hurts your ear when I say it, right? Some people get so angry. I mean, I just wish you'd see these people. I say, hey, you guys can be having a perfect marriage right now. And they say, what are you talking about? They get angry with me, right? But there is such thing. There is a perfect marriage. And I'm going to define for you what I believe is a perfect marriage. A perfect marriage, it's not a relationship that is void of problems, but that despite these problems or when these problems arise, both parties, both the husband and the wife, they're willing to resolve it. Both parties, though they are not perfect, because there is no such thing as a perfect husband or a perfect wife, but these people come together on a daily basis and they fight for each other. And they say this, I am going to become the perfect person for my spouse. And then the spouse says, I'm going to become the perfect person for him or for her. Now, I don't think Renee is a perfect person, and nor does he think I'm a perfect person, but every single day I try to be his perfect person. Does that make sense? Every single day we commit to say, we are going to work on this relationship. What can we do to make things better? If there's any rock that's left unturned, we are going to figure it out. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to get to work to make sure that we are just thriving, that we are living an abundant married life. That is the perfect marriage, when both parties are willing to do whatever it takes to figure it out, that nothing will be too big that cannot be resolved. The way I like to describe this marriage is what Ephesians says about it. Oh, sorry, not Ephesians. 1 Corinthians 13, beginning around verse 4, it talks about what is love. And to me, the perfect marriage has all these aspects of love. It says this, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil. does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, the Bible says. But whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part as we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. Then he finishes and says like this: when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. And now abide, he says, here's Paul speaking, faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. The perfect marriage has this type of love. Again, it's not a marriage that is void of problems, but it's a marriage that when problems rise up, they choose to display love. They are connected with the God that is love. The Bible says it, right? God is love. And when we have a vertical relationship with Him, it influences our horizontal relationship with our spouse. All right, Amanda, so what are the characteristics of the perfect marriage? There's only 3. Write this down. The first one, the perfect marriage, the spouses, they share all things. They're companions. They share the conversations over the bills, and they share the cleaning, they share the cooking, they share the children caring. In the perfect marriage, there's no such thing as tallies. No one is keeping score. There's no petty arguments like, I'm not going to wash the dishes because you didn't make the bed. Or I'm not going to clean the car. You can't even drive it. There's none of these little fights. There's no such thing as his stuff or my stuff. There's no I's, but there's an us. This is our stuff. This is our house. This is our car. These are our children. You know, when people get upset, they say, go take care of your child. No. There's no such thing as you and I. There's just an ours and an us. There's a plurality in them because it's the two of them living as one flesh. They share all things. They're companions, they're friends, they're lovers. The next one, they have intimacy. And now, yes, sexually also, but to me, intimacy goes even more than that. They know each other in heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Do you know things about your spouse? Now, I'm not talking about the normal day-to-day things, but do you guys have these rich conversations? Things like, what are your everyday stresses? What is stressing you right now? What is your favorite childhood memory? What is your worst childhood memory? Where is your dream vacation? Do you know the answer of these questions? Who's your best friend? Who is the relative that you like the least? If you could be a superhero, who would you be? If you could have a superpower, what would it be? These little questions that maybe, oh man, that's not really a big deal. But what does this do? It creates intimacy. Renee, you can tell just because I talk a whole lot, so you can imagine that Renee probably doesn't talk a whole lot. And so I like to ask him so many questions. And he goes, oh, here you come with your silly little questions. There's actually a little app. I think it's called Love Maps or something like that. I can't remember the name. I'll put it on the comments below. I think it's Love Maps or something. And it's just a series of cards with a bunch of questions that you can ask each other. And they're really fun. I tell my clients to do this all the time, and just questions that you go back and forth and asking. Remember in the lukewarm marriage that it's kind of awkward, I have no idea what to talk about. Use some of these questions, right? These questions will sort of start opening the doors, and man, they're so fun because I love it. I think it's great. You start asking these questions, and Renee's like, oh, here you come with the questions. And sometimes he even starts asking me, oh, ask me one of those questions. Ask me one of those questions. And it's great. And some of them are light, and some of them are funny, but then some of them, you really start to connect. Man, you know, the thing that was toughest for me growing up was this and that. And this was really difficult for me. Oh man, this was the best time. I love the memory that my parents made of this. Oh, I love this tradition that we had. And you start to get to know each other in a more intimate way. And then you become vulnerable. And then you get closer. And then you share all things. And then you have the perfect marriage. And finally, what is the last thing? In the perfect marriage, there is growth. there is growth. The perfect marriage doesn't believe that it's perfect. And that's why it's perfect, because it knows that there's always room to grow, that they can always get better, that they can love more, that they can forgive more, that they can show more mercy, that they can show more grace, that they can help more. The perfect marriage is always trying to do something to love a little better. So they read books, they go to seminars, they went to premarital counseling, and now they've been married, but every year they make sure to go to some type of seminar to reignite their love. The perfect marriage makes sure that they're finding time for themselves apart from their kids so that they can grow in their relationship. The perfect marriage grows. And these are the three things. They travel together. They make time to spend together. And that's what they do. They just know that there's room for growth, that they can be 1% better every single day so that their love will always be ablaze. Now, I'm assuming that you watched part 1 and now you finished watching part 2. And maybe you identified with these marriage types. I'm going to recap. You have the lonely, the one where the person does everything on their own. Literally, it's lonely. There is no participation. The other spouse is irresponsible. They're not cooperating. They're still living the bachelor or the bachelorette life. Then you have the Instagram marriage. It's the facade. It's what Jesus would call the whitewashed tombs. It's all pretty on the outside, but dead, decaying on the inside. Sometimes there's even abuse taking place. Then you have the lukewarm marriage. It's not too hot, not too cold. They're just going by. They feel like something could be better, but they're just comfortable. It's normal. This is part of it. It isn't normal. And then you have the perfect marriage. Amanda, if I identified with lonely or the Instagram or the lukewarm, how can I move my marriage at least 1%, one step closer to the perfect marriage? Well, check out what I did. I thought I was pretty incredible by doing it like this. It just added up so beautifully. If you are currently living the lonely marriage, the one tip, the one characteristic, let's say, that I want you to adopt so that you can be more like the perfect marriage is that I want you to do the first one. I want you to share all things. Sharing is caring. Remember, go recap on what the lonely marriage is, but it's basically one person is taking on all the load. So you are going to apply the characteristic of the perfect marriage to your lonely marriage and start to share things, start to do things, collaborate. She washes the dishes, you make the food. You get the kids dressed for school, she makes the breakfast. Collaborate, be a team, be companions, be partners. Now, if you are in the Instagram marriage, the facade, the superficial, I want you guys to start being more intimate with each other. So literally, grab some of the questions that I just said, right? What is your favorite this? Or what was your favorite book? What is your favorite song growing up? And start to have deep and thoughtful conversations, not only sexually, yes, start to be intimate with one another, but also start to connect with one another. Start to connect in mind and heart and soul and spirit. Remind yourselves why you fell in love. Go back, take a walk down memory lane, open up those wedding albums and figure out the hobbies, the things you have in common, and then start doing it. Start hanging out, start spending time together, and the conversations will grow, and now you're going to have roots and not just what others see as pretty on the outside but dying on the inside. And finally, if you have the lukewarm marriage, I want you to apply growth to it. If you have the lukewarm marriage today, you just realize that there is something that you can do to make your marriage better, because if it isn't the perfect marriage, there is room to grow. And you will see that even in the perfect marriage, you will continue to grow. So lukewarm, I want you to grow. Grab a book. Continue to listen to these videos. These videos will make a difference in your marriage. Go to the seminars. Do things. Go out of your way. Find ways. Find reasons. Find something to do to make your love grow. All right, guys, that's it. And my prayer is that as you apply these things, you will see a difference in your marriage. If this was useful to you, like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned. Follow us on all the social medias because there are a lot of awesome things coming your way, and I don't want you to miss out. So you have to follow. I'm gonna share it with you guys right now. We are going to be doing a live pretty soon, and I'm going to be answering your specific questions. So you don't want to miss out, because I'm only going to answer a few. I don't have a whole lot of time. I don't have a whole lot of time to keep there answering all of those questions. So first come, first serve. Send your questions and we are going to get to it. And if you didn't get to it this time, keep sending them, because we're going to do more lives, and eventually, hopefully, I will get to your questions. All right, guys, have the best day ever. We'll see you next time.